So in the thumbnail art for this part, it amused me to find that Ted was depicted as V, considering he's the literature nut of the bunch of us. It just seemed to...
He also has the least screen presence. I mean, he's not even here.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We forgot to buy the DLC before booting.
Also, it took us to part 4 to realize that's not here. He was supposed to... It was supposed to be part of the session, but he had car trouble.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
That happens.
Work ran late and then he had car trouble. That's a double whammy. Anyway, V is an interesting character to play as. Gaming Brit compared him to Raido Kuzunoha, and having played those games, I can say that the comparison is valid. And it's an action combat system where you summon monsters to attack for you. And I love it. I love the system, I should say. The missions that you play as him and the enemies that you fight as him aren't always polished to the extent of the Dante and Nero content. But, you know, the game doesn't dwell enough on V for it to wear out its welcome in a natural playthrough. And, you know, if you really are into V's combat style, that's what Bloody Palace is for. That's where Dante got most of his love, too, in the original game, in the original DMC4, where you had the best combat system ever devised by man, but hardly anything to do with it.
How often do you find yourself in any Devil May Cry game that has a Bloody Palace? Going back to just Bloody Palace.
Well, a lot, really, because Bloody Palace is, you know, it's just pure non-stop fighting, which is, it's like, it's fun to go through the explorative and story elements of the game when you're playing through the campaign for the experience, or when you're going through on a higher difficulty, but when you just want to have a good time, Bloody Palace is where it's at. It's also where everyone will, you know, record their combo videos, because it's just an easy way to get enemies on screen. I like that these monsters are all like boss enemies from DMC.
Yeah, they're all reoccurring enemies from the first game.
Yeah. We got Shadow here, which was a reoccurring regular enemy that was such a pain in the ass to deal with, it might as well have been a boss. You have Nightmare over here, the goo tank. You have Griffin, the lightning bird.
Bite-sized.
Bite-sized, yes. And they actually do reference Nilo Angelo in their dialogue later in the game, so it's like they're his personas, basically. His personas from his time as Nilo Angelo.
Yeah, they're basically extensions of his will.
Boom.
If the will also grew sentience. And we're absolute assholes. I'm referencing specifically Griffin.
Griffin.
Because the nightmare is nightmare and the cat's a cat.
Griffin here is basically Orbot.
I don't recall. I don't recall Orbot ever saying dying is whack.
Okay, so maybe he's more Q-Bot.
Q-Bot would probably say something like that if his voice chip was malfunctioning.
He's the comedy relief sidekick to the villain in any case.
Yeah. I mean, they both were, to be fair. It was a different style of comedy, though, Orbot being considerably more dry. It's like, yeah, my boss is a fucking idiot, but keeps me alive.
Griffin's dialogue is great. I love him.
Yeah, I believe, unfortunately, the voice actor of Griffin, though, did pass away not too long after this game went live.
Oh. We get to see Nero fighting in the previous mission. Not our gameplay, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you didn't use that breaker at all.
Yeah. I think they have pre-programmed versions of that for when there's no player to
yeah, if you're playing offline, I believe they were set to like whatever the vanilla standard might be.
Yeah. I play offline. most of the time in any game that has
Yeah, I don't blame you.
in any game that has these kind of Dark Soulsy online components, to be honest, because I just don't really see it as worth it.
Well, you want to do that in Dark Souls because you don't want to potentially get invaded.
Yeah, that too. But I also just don't really care for the other stuff. So it's like if I
really because and again, my only experience with Dark Souls goes as far as the first game, but that was a 50-hour adventure, so you still remember shit. You always ran the risk of being invaded for sure, but that also means you can use phantom helpers, which are essentially other players that will answer the call and just help you.
I sure do enjoy playing with other people who are too impatient to, let me explore.
Well, you have to call them yourself, though, to be fair. So if you're asking for help in the first place, it's because you need help.
Yeah, I know. It's just that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of random co-op matchmaking.
Right.
Is the other player is not going to want to take this at the slow, relaxed pace that I play my games. I blame Final Fantasy XIV for that because my experience with that game, I think one of the highlights was while I was learning to tank, this fucking bard got impatient waiting for me and just ran ahead because I guess I wasn't doing those big pulls that he really wanted.
If you have a sprout next to your name, which indicates that you're a new player or at least returning, a little etiquette goes a long way.
I was far enough in the game by the time I actually tried practicing tanking that I did not.
I see.
Yeah, so there is that. But I did.
Well, that bard's an asshole regardless.
I did say I was a new tank. The healer was just not putting up with the bard shit, though. The bard wiped, and it was just like, no, I'm not healing you, jerk.
Good.
But that was a major that was a major issue for me in particular with Final Fantasy XIV, was that going through dungeons, everyone is on their roulette daily rotation, so they want to get it over with.
And you stopped playing the game before they introduced the trust system and duty support.
Yes.
Where you can now solo a lot of those dungeons.
On a few of my attempts to restart the game on new players, I did actually solo the early dungeons before that stuff was introduced. And let me tell you, there's a good reason they introduced that shit. Trying to solo a boss is basically impossible unless you're in a tank class, and very slow even when it is possible.
Yeah.
I just dropped the nightmare on the enemy immediately.
And you're reacting appropriately. So, to go again into V's method of combat, you are using familiars, and not so much V himself, unless until you have to do the finishing blow, because the familiars can't actually kill anything, if I recall.
No, they can't. They can only they can drop enemies into that glowy white stun state. The only time I think V is capable of damaging enemies directly is during his final mission, where he fights illusion versions of previous bosses. He can actually damage them with his cane. But it's like the game doesn't actually tell you that, so you might not even notice.
Yeah, so every enemy, as you see, has a blue circle around them. It's essentially their health bar. And once it gets slow enough, it becomes red and squiggly. That's essentially your cue for V to do his follow-up attack, where he does the finishing blow. It has to be V that deals the finishing blow. Or you can just stand around and dance and twirl your cane.
Well, with V, because V is so often not directly involved in combat, getting off a taunt whenever you can is actually a good way to keep his style meter going. Because it's adding to the style meter while you do attacks with the enemy.
Yeah.
Whew.
Also, you notice the Griffin took a form of an orb there for a second, which I think is a callback to DMC1. Because I think Shadow did that as well.
Yeah, when Shadow was in his vulnerable state, and you could actually damage his health, he would be in that orb form.
It essentially means that Griffin, at the very least, took too much damage and is cooling down.
Yeah. The enemy, your demons do have health. They can't just take a beating and keep on attacking the enemy. Eventually, they will go into a dormant state. And if both of your demons are in a dormant state and you don't have Devil Trigger to fall back on, you're basically just running around waiting for your demons to come back. So be careful. It's a very embarrassing state to be in, although very in character for V, as we will see in some of the later cutscenes. One of the cool things that I like about V is that, like, he's another point where the DMC influence comes in. His Devil Trigger turns his hair white like Dante's would in that game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he doesn't make all the enemies float pointlessly in an anti-gravity void, but, you know, we can't have everything.
Missed opportunity, though, for that Devil Trigger in that game, now that I'm thinking about it. Because they originally, like, they played coy with it, right? Because in the beginning of the game, after all the antics happening with the trailer, a fucking mop head falls on top of his head. Looks in the mirror and says, not in 1,000, like in 1,000,000 years, some other shit, right?
Yeah.
And then later in the game, towards the end of it, you actually get your Devil Trigger and Dante's hair becomes pure white. I think it would have been funnier if he just puts a mop head over his head. It's like, now I'm Dante. Now I'm Dante.
It wasn't just his hair that turned white. His because of the color effect that takes over the screen, his coat turns red too.
Yeah.
Purple orbs.
And purple orbs extend your Devil Trigger meter.
Yes.
Well, when it's full anyway, not like bite size. That'd be some shit. Like, you get a fragment, so you get a fragment of a bar.
I think there are only like 4 or 8 purple orb fragments to find in the entire game.
Yeah, you're not finding many.
Some of them are connected to secret missions, I think.
Yes.
I think maybe there's one full set to find in the environment and one full set to find from secret missions.
But most of the time you're finding blue orbs.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main, like, secret collectible you're getting.
Purple orbs are still mainly something that you purchase in shops. Man, I love how all of Shadow's moves, or, well, not all of them, but most of them, are actually moves that Shadow used against you in Devil May Cry 1. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we was annoying to deal with.
Yeah. Honestly, the thing that drove me nuts with Shadows is that every time you fucking encountered one, especially like on the first or second one, I think it was, they fucking wind up their attack in the middle of the cutscene. And they dart for you immediately as it ends, and you just have to dodge like split second.
That saw blade was the first thing the first Shadow did to attack you, and it did it right out of the cutscene. So most first-time players got sucker punched.
Also, another holdover from the reboot, the ranking system has a voiceover whenever you climb the ranks.
I also like the ranking, like the names for each of the ranks more in this one than I did in previous games. Although, I guess DMC4s weren't bad.
Well, I think, was it only like the second game? I think that had like sort of detrimental names for the ranks, because I like everything here is like the C rank I think is cool, B is badass, A is awesome I think, or amazing.
Well,
yeah, D is dismal, like, so, but that's fair, it's a D rank. But it's good to see like DMC is like using the power of positive reinforcement.
Well, I mean, D in Devil May Cry 4 was deadly.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't really feel like I should be rewarded for spamming my guns. I'm just gonna say. I suppose that is deadly in any game but this.
Apocalyptic. That's the A one. Okay.
Apocalyptic, yeah. I think it was absolute in 4.
Okay, that's extra. It's also, it's not absolute because there's a S rank and double and triple S afterwards.
The one that I kind of feel is a downgrade is the triple S, which in 4 was Smoke and Six style, which I like. It's smoking sexy style in 5, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound nearly as impressive.
What was it in the reboot?
I think. Hang on. Okay.
Because it wasn't really hard to get a triple S in the reboot. Now I'm thinking about it, but I'm blanking on what it was called.
Okay, so stylish ranks. I think this wiki might just list them all. Okay, so in DMC1 it was dull, cool, bravo, absolute, awesome, and stylish. It says absolute / awesome for Devil May Cry 1. I'm not. I think it might just be random, but I don't know. DMC2 is don't worry, come on, bingo, are you ready, and showtime. DMC3, which
see, I like that. I like that. Are you ready? Showtime, because they're telling you A rank is not the peak. There's still one more to go.
Yeah, DMC3 was the first one to introduce double S and triple S, but it was like double S is showtime and triple S is stylish. The other ranks are dope, crazy, blast, all right, and sweet. Devil May Cry 4 was it has different ranks for the beta. Okay, so in the beta, it was do it, come on, big up, all that, slam and beat, smash hit, and stylish showtime.
Wow, that's really lame.
Yeah, which is probably why they changed it to...
Did Nero make those up? Like, what the fuck?
Okay, in the final build, it's deadly, carnage, brutal, atomic. Oh, not absolute. I was remembering absolute from 1, I guess. Smokin' style, and smokin' sick style. DMC was dirty, cruel, brutal, anarchic, savage, sadistic, and sensational.
Sensational, yeah.
5 is dismal, crazy, badass, apocalyptic, savage, 6 skills, and smokin' sexy style. And Devil May Cry Peak of Combat uses dope, crazy, blast, alright, sweet, showtime, and stylish. So, just the Devil May Cry 4 once again.
Wait, A was alright? What?
It at least takes some work to get to A.
Actually...
Yeah, why does alright sound worse than the C or B rank?
Actually, yeah, that was the Devil May Cry 3 one, actually. They used the Devil May Cry 3 ones again. Then A was alright in that game, yeah. But it's more like alright as in alright. Like like
there's an exclamation point. Like good job.
Like you're getting psyched up for it rather than...
But when you say it phonetically, it does sound like a downgrade.
It's a little awkward when you try to do the finishing move, but you're just slightly too far away. So V just waves his stick and then remembers he should be finishing the enemy off. I love that electric shockwave attack. So good.
Which I believe was also a maneuver Griffin had in DMC1. Well, it was much larger.
Oh yeah, most of Griffin's attacks are based on attacks that that Griffin did during his boss fights, yes. It's a little harder to pin them directly to a specific move because DMC1 Griffin was so big and his attack patterns so wide sweeping that like
emphasis on wide sweeping because that shit was really annoying when he was obscured by the camera.
Oh yes, the arena, the third battle in the Coliseum especially really sucked in that way. Oh, street lamp got him away. Sorry about that. I'll kill you now.
That's what the S rank stands for, street lamp. I personally don't get it, but...
Anyway, I was going through these missions to try and at least mostly complete everything, but these missions have a particularly annoying aspect where there are certain secret areas that you can only access by summoning Nightmare in a particular location. He'll Kool-Aid Man his way through a wall or something.
That's right, yeah, I was going to say, like, if he crashes through a wall.
Yeah, and that opens up a path to a collectible. This is the first time that happens, but I completely forgot where it happened. So I'm like, damn it. Most of the time, you'll find them by accident because you used his double trigger in a particular battle arena.
It's like, oh, neat. Oh, wait, that means there's probably other areas that I could have done this earlier.
Yeah, pretty much. But the thing with the secrets in this mission is that, like, this is one of the few places in the game where you actually need to use optional Nidhogg hatchlings. one behind another, and it's like, oh god, where's the other seed? It's so weird that this is the only key item that the game really even has. I mean, I don't necessarily dispute the design decision, because the key item segments in Devil May Cry 4 ranged from pointless and obligatory to actively annoying. And this is one element of the game's Resident Evil adjacent roots that I can honestly do without. But it is awkward that they did it, that they kept this vestige of it in such a half-hearted way.
Really highlights that you don't have the movement upgrades too. Like in this case, 'cause I think like one of the first that I got with V was, I think you just surf on Shadow.
Yes. Yeah, everyone has their sprinting maneuver, and you do have to buy it. But because you want attack flexibility in the early game, you generally are probably... Stop that, V. You're probably going to put off getting speed up. Speed up in this game works more like Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition's version of it, though, in that it triggers very quickly, rather than forcing you to run for like 30 seconds before you start running.
Don't be exaggerating. It was 29.
I will say that your base movement speed in 5 is faster than it was in 4, though.
Yeah. Well, I also think V naturally is the slowest of the three because of his condition.
I don't think he moves at any different speed than Nero does, to be honest.
He sure as shit looks like it, though. I don't know, because I swear you were moving faster on your feet as Nero.
I think it's just because we happen to be in a more wide open area than a lot of the ones Nero passed through, honestly. Also, I know there's a secret like somewhere in this level, but I don't know where it is, so I'm actively looking around for it, and it's slowing me down. Ooh.
Buzzsaw kitty.
You know, when you get a good juggle going with Shadow, it's particularly brutal. But, you know, this is where you start to notice that with V in particular, I rely very heavily on the same moves a lot, because V, he's harder to get good at than the other two.
Well, again, I think a part of it is the disassociation. You're using your familiars to attack things, but correct me if I'm wrong, you can't influence their direction, right? They attack who you have targeted.
Yeah.
So, but if you still move the analog stick, you're moving V and not Shadow or Griffin.
Yes.
Or Nightmare.
It's a little difficult to keep track of the positioning of both of your demons and how that affects the range of their attacks.
Yeah. Because I believe Shadow, to use them as an example, has different maneuvers dependent on which direction of the analog stick you're tilting.
I'm pretty sure the direction inputs are relative to V, rather than the Shadow or Griffin themselves. But like, because you have to pay close attention to the range and positioning of both demons at once, it's not always the easiest thing in the world to tell which moves will be effective at a given time. This is more of a problem for Shadow than it is for Griffin, because Griffin, you can do a forward attack, I think, and he'll do a pretty long distance dive bomb that closes the distance between him and his target pretty quickly. So you can always do that and then just follow up with whatever it was you wanted Griffin to do. Shadow is a bit more particular, because Shadow is close range to mid range. God damn it, this is the worst position to be in. Why am I taunting?
Oh boy. You got yourself in a pickle now, V. Then you just start doing a little song and dance to distract them while the orbs are regenerating. Which is his EX taunt.
Little song and dance number.
Yeah, V's EX taunt is he has a little song and dance number. Twirls his cane and everything.
Does a little vaudeville thing, huh?
Yeah, essentially. Again, they're fantastic. If you're curious about them, speaking to comment section here, look up the EX taunts of this game. They're fantastic.
I wonder if I can reach that woman.
Okay, so when V calls Nico, the results are always spectacular. Because V can't dodge the car the way Nero does.
Yeah. Keep your panties on. I see ya already.
How do you see him?
Right there.
Does the coin-operated payphone have a GPS?
Maybe we should put a GPS tracker on V.
When would she have done that?
I don't know.
Never do that again. Actually, what is... Oh, yeah, I remember. Okay, so not only does the van have Nico's workshop, her portable workshop in it, like she's freaking furious or something, but she also has a goddess statue on her counter. You know,
I was gonna say the goddess statue. I think is from 4.
It's actually from 1. This has been a mainstay
Is
of the
it?
series. You didn't do it often because the missions were so short, so there was rarely a reason. But these statues were scattered around the castle, and you could access the shop through them.
Yeah, because I know because otherwise you're accessing the shop between chapters.
Yeah.
And I thought like the shop moniker was just the hourglass. Like that's why I thought like the statue was from 4.
Well, it's a deity of time, apparently. But like often the statue will also appear in the background of the item shop between missions.
Yeah, and it was an hourglass in 1.
Yeah, it's but the actual statue with the deity holding the hourglass was a thing as early as 1 and also appeared in 2. Although those missions were also very short, so and let's be honest, you don't need the shop in 2.
I think 1 had my favorite like shop theme outside. I love this theme as well. I think this is just Nico's theme.
Yeah,
or whatever it's called. I like the funk of this one, but I also like how I like the serious gravitas of the original game shop theme.
I just like how she got the idea to carry one of these statues around rather than just waiting to find them in the environment. It's just like, I found this at a convention. Thought it'd be useful.
Don't ask how much I paid for it. Unrelated, I'm gonna need a shitload of red orbs.
And now
there we go.
We have speed up. The thing about speed up with V, though, is that you absolutely can't use it if Shadow is vulnerable. So he's the only one who has a condition on his speed up. I'm like, okay.
Which, to be fair, though, like, assuming the battle's over, they instantly regenerate. Because there's no point in having both of your, like, all other familiars on a cooldown period when there's nothing to fight.
Yeah, but there is a thing. There are attack moves that are tied to the sprint as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Nero can do his little flying kick from the opening cutscene of Devil May Cry 4. It's called Rainbow. It sends the enemies flying. He's been able to do it since Devil May Cry 4. One of the more charming aspects of Devil May Cry is that often there's a wacky thing that the character can do in cutscenes, and for no reason in particular, because it's never particularly effective, you can do it in gameplay. You can jump on down to enemies in Devil May Cry 3 and surf on them. Just like Dante does in that opening cutscene. Why? No fucking idea. It's
also not very effective. Yeah, it's not a very damaging move.
Yeah, well, you can surf around, and then you can hit the gun button to do a spinny shooting attack. But,
yeah, it's purely for style, if I recall.
It's purely for style, but it's a bit too jank to really look stylish in action.
You're like an asshole. Yeah, an asshole with a gun. Smoking.
It's one of those things I kind of wish there was a little bit of a style meter increase if you did moves like that.
Well, I think they do.
I mean, they do, but it's like more than usual if you decide to do them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you risk getting hit by doing low damaging but stylish attacks versus your normal combos or things like that?
if you manage to open a battle with a direct hit with Nero's dropkick, which is hard to do because aiming that dropkick is, well, it's like you can't lock on for it, so it's hard. But if you manage to hit an enemy and send them flying with Rainbow at the start of a fight, you get a massive style boost for the start of the fight. So in that sense, I think that I think Rainbow works better than enemy surfing did. But you know, rocket arm surfing trumps both of them, so that's probably why they let Nero keep his dropkick in 5, but never brought the enemy surfing back ever afterward. One of the other random-ass things you can do in Devil May Cry 3, which was only ever possible in a certain few rooms, is if there was like a pole in the strip club or in the castle, you could have Dante click the action button near it and he would do a spinning kick off the pole.
Just realized one of those signs says Sparta Express. What the fuck does that mean?
Maybe bald businessman Sparta from the DMC universe escaped to the game canon universe and has been living on his own secretly in this universe ever since he was captured in his original. Yeah, I just wrote a concept for a pretty interesting fan fiction without meaning to. Oh,
I'm more wondering though, like what's in advertising though? Sparta Express. Is that a train or is that a credit card?
it's a pair of boots. You kick people off cliffs with it.
Send them straight to hell.
Sure. Do you think he got a rank for that?
A rank for what?
Kicking the dude down the hole.
It was a very stylish way to start a war, yeah.
You just do that and suddenly you just hear, cool.
Yeah, because it's only one hit.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a combo. Just flip. What in the Tony Hawk was that?
I think the attacks, the finishing attacks that you can do with V are enemy specific and maybe style rank specific, although I'm not sure. I managed to taunt my way to an A rank before doing that flip, so maybe that's why. Woo! I will say that I am glad that V gets his own speed up function, especially because it actually feels like you're surfing on Shadow rather than just sprinting. It has a different sort of slidiness to it.
Yeah. You have less traction on the ground, but it's not invasive.
Well, I mean, the game doesn't really do platforming at all, so it does even less platforming than DMC, which is in some ways unfortunate because DMC was the game in the series that finally got jumping right.
It also had a really fun air dash.
Yeah, it did. I liked that air dash. Actually, well, I mean, Dante still kind of has an air dash like that in his trickster style, but it doesn't feel quite as good to use.
You also need to be in a different style to use it.
Yeah.
Which isn't so much a big deal, especially like in the Switch version of the game where you can just, switch styles immediately.
Yeah. Nero has his air taunt and the Gerbera double breaker. This boss I don't like, but at least it's a boss that was like deliberately designed with V in mind, unlike the ones he fights later. But it does kind of feel like V gets the C-lister boss because like he can't handle the other bosses, and the cutscene after this like plays into that intentionally. Like he finishes up fighting this boss, and then he sees Gilgamesh in the background. We'll get to Gilgamesh because that's interesting.
Gilgamesh was the large one, I believe, right?
Yeah. One of the things about Devil May Cry 4's development is that the weapons Dante get were supposed to have bosses attached to them, but they just never got made. Gilgamesh, awkwardly, is a reimagining of the boss idea for Gilgamesh, the punch and kicking glove.
Yeah.
So we get to fight that boss after after he had its relevant weapon. I wonder why that is. Like maybe it's just like one of one of a breed.
It's a very odd interpretation of Nidhogg, by the way.
How so?
Because I don't know. Like, I know Nidhogg in itself is supposed to be a serpent, that sort of thing, and you can kind of read into that with like the tentacles being snakes, in a way. I don't know.
It's also like a parasite that was supposed to be eating the world tree. So you know.
Is that what it's supposed to be? Okay, I did not know that aspect of it. In that case, okay, it's accurate. It's just like it's weird and pus filled.
It's a plant serpent.
It has 2 sword arms. And like 3 Aubreys.
You gotta love Nightmare's like wrestling intro entrances at times, you know? I keep half expecting him to come in wielding a giant chair.
Well, I also just like how these demons get their feelings hurt all the fucking time.
Alright, so this boss has a pretty simple pattern. Just defeat the minions and then the boss will be vulnerable. Doesn't have much health once he's out here, but, you know.
Yeah, if you manage a Nightmare summon while he's down, that does a considerable amount of damage too.
Yes, it does.
Fucking, I think I'm not sure if it's something you have immediately or if it's something you have to get an upgrade for. But I recall one of Nightmare's most devastating attacks is the fucking laser that just causes a delayed explosion on the ground, wipes out everything. It's pretty much a guaranteed instant triple S in an enclosed space. Yeah, that right there, actually, that maneuver.
Ooh. Like, I'm not sure if you can damage Nidhogg while his minions are even out, but...
Well, you're still causing damage to the health bar, and now you just attack the minion there.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, I'm not sure if you can target Nidhogg's main body, is what I'm saying. Like, I think I was locked onto him, but I'm not sure if, like, attacking him does much in the way of damage. Man, I am so low on health.
Bet you wish you had little green stars.
Said Nidhogg.
I wish I had some vital stars.
Enjoy the taste of this.
Boom!
That kind of interrupted your your taunt, so I don't think it caught the end of that.
Wait, was that a taunt, or was that just him saying...
Well, no, your line in general was cut off by that sudden explosion.
Well, was that him saying something when he summoned Nightmare, or was that a taunt? I couldn't tell.
I think that was just the phrase of dialogue that was part of the fight.
Ah, well, I finished the boss off in A rank.
Nice.
Not bad. Not bad. Especially for early V. Although I think I did do a bit of red orb grinding before starting V's mission so that he would just have a few moves to use. The thing about, like, one of the differences between the Proud Soul system and the Red Soul system is that when you got Proud Souls, those Proud Souls applied to Nero and Dante separately. So when you switched to Dante in the middle of the game, he would have all the Proud Souls you ever had as Nero. And he would be able to immediately buy most of his moveset, which is probably why people had a hard time getting into Dante, because they just had so much shit to get into right as soon as they got him. Ooh.
Oh, okay, I gotta actually run. Fuck.
Yep. Ah, you thought you were so stylish because you beat the scrub boss. Nope.
A. I want a game with an A rank that the A just stands for ah. Like the guy's just screaming.
You know, that would actually be a pretty good ranking name for, like, if like a Devil May Cry character, if they add one in a future game who has like a really wacky personality. And you get to the A rank and it's just say ah on the side of the screen.
Or the screen the shout is just the letter itself. B.
B. This little bee flies around near you when that happens.
Okay, we will see you all next time, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully Ted will be back with us by then. Have a good one.